None. Are you a member of anybody?
No, Minister.
Legal,
Except
you're
for,
not?
I think as prosecutors we are automatically members of the Legal Practice Council, but I should say, way back when, prosecutors were asked to be members of a union. I am a member of a labor union. I have been since 2000, as are all prosecutors. I think whether you're at the PSA or wherever it is you are affiliated, but that is a membership. I don't know if, I don't want to miss anything.
IDEC is allowed for you to be a member of a labor, you know.
Not
Is it not senior management that is not supposed to be members of labor?
I know that we all, I know many of us way back, I think this happened in 2000. I'll have to check my membership.
Please
I've never
check.
used it, Minister, to be clear. I've never had cause to use it.
My understanding is that the minute you become a head, you shouldn't be, because you are now part of the employer.
Yes, I've not used it, and I don't know. If something has to be rectified, of course I'll rectify it. Not having used it, Prof, I'm not sure what the rules would have been.
I just want to check, when you say you've been a member since 2000, surely there are interactions if you're a member. Either you pay or you get correspondence, or are you saying it's a dormant membership?
I have only back in 2000 when I became a member, I know that it goes off my salary, but there haven't been communications because I've not needed to communicate, and they haven't communicated with me.
And it's still deducted up until now?
I'm sure that it still is.
Okay.
I don't want to say no. Then someone looks in my salary advice and it is. I will look, and Minister, I take your point. And I think it falls away in the sense of I've never used it, it's there. I do understand my responsibilities, forming part of a management where I'm an employer, and I will make sure that if that is an issue, that must be rectified.
I'm trying to check. We tend to be more vigilant for our own bank statements, so that even that 99 cents that is deducted for
Yes.
apps, you mean you haven't checked?
No, I'm saying I'm sure it is still being deducted, but I have no communication over and beyond the deduction from my salary.
Okay.
Thanks, Minister. Advocate Johnson, we have to get this one clear. You not having that engagement with the union,
Yes.
does not impact on the validity of membership. You're saying you are a member, so the fact that there is no, you have never accessed the membership benefits,
Not at all.
that is actually irrelevant in as far as the validity of your membership is concerned.
Understood.
And now I just wanted to understand, is it your position that you were not aware that as a manager, senior manager, you are actually not supposed to be part of a union?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And hi, Advocate Johnson.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm good, ma'am.
Thank you. And you are saying your specialty has been labor law in the main?
No, criminal law.
Criminal law?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Only
so
criminal.
labor law came in only when you're representing or dealing with NPA labor law matters?
Yes, and in all of those, I have only chaired in the labor law matters. I have not represented any employee in the labor law matters, given that as a senior manager, I saw that as an impediment, and we had long debates about those back in the day. But I had only chaired in labor matters of the NPA.
Minister, sorry.
Okay.
This is interesting. Advocate Johnson, you are a lawyer, right?
Sure.
And for all intents and purposes, if you were to chair any disciplinary hearing, there would be two parties there.
Correct?
And for all intents and purposes, one would be represented by an employer representative or an employee representative.
Correct.
Didn't you get curious, having signed the form at one point, about the fact that there is this relationship that you have with this body that actually appears before you as a chairperson in a hearing, and you are a manager, senior manager in the space? Didn't it occur to you, at least for you to be a little curious?
I haven't been, and I know that it's not.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I do not want this to seem as though it's a glib answer. It isn't a glib answer. It didn't occur to me because I was just doing what was within the mandate and what was expected of me. I chaired the disciplinary knowing that I had to be objective on all fronts. Who appears should not be relevant. It is the evidence that is placed before you. That is all that I could and did adjudicate on. If you start to wonder about parties, you make yourself prejudiced and biased to the process and should therefore recuse yourself.
No, Ms. Johnson. That's not even my point. My point is simply, you are a member of this union, you have joined it. And my colleague sitting there has said to you, the fact that you have joined this union means that there would be deductions, whether you received service or not, it's not the issue. All that I was at least interested in from you in this context is, having been a senior manager for that long, didn't it occur to you that for all intents and purposes, I've been a member of one of these unions, not on the basis of whether you like or you dislike any of the parties, or you have to believe or not believe them, because that was not the part you had to adjudicate. What you had to adjudicate is the complaint that is before you, not the persons that are before you.
Correct.
But then I wanted to understand, that's why I asked you, didn't it occur to you to be curious one day, to just wonder, what happened with my membership with this union for the past 25 years? That's all that I'm asking you.
No, sir, unfortunately, I
No,
didn't.
that's fine. Thanks.
Chair. Yeah. No, thank you so much. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
It's very interesting because, I mean, I just want to ask you a question. Is it the same if you're in a disciplinary hearing and the person is in front of you, the union rep is there, is it the same union or is it a different union? All the staff members in that unit of where you are, how many unions? Perhaps I should ask how many unions are there, because the ACE will be a majority union, and which will be recognized. And if you're a member of that union, and there appears to be a disciplinary hearing, and here you sit and you chair, and there's a union rep, and there's the union member, and you're also union member, doesn't that constitute a gross conflict of interest?
So, just to be clear, sir, I think the last disciplinary I chaired is well over 10 years ago. And I cannot remember which union would have appeared. But what I can say is in the past 10 years, I haven't chaired any disciplinary matters. And I am not aware of the memberships of the staff at IDEC. I think the only one that I am aware of, only because staff would indicate the PSA is having a meeting, and they would usually go to the head office at the VGM. But I'm not aware of their affiliations, to be clear.
Thank you very much. In these disciplinary hearings, there usually would be a declaration of interest up front. And I'm sure you might have gone through that exercise. And at that point, even if it's 10 years ago, did it occur to you that you'd also say, I'm a member of a union, even if my membership I'm no longer actively aware of? That's one. And also, as senior managers, when you are negotiating salary, unions are negotiating this or that percent, didn't you take interest that my union is bargaining for this salary? Yes, I'm a senior manager, and so forth. What will be the outcomes and so on? Or even unions coming to say, as a member, would like you to advise us on A, B, C, D, E.
So on the second point about the salaries, you will find, Prof, if you speak to people at the NPA and colleagues who'd come with me a long way, that was one of the lesser things I did worry about. And I hadn't ever been approached by any union, let alone the one for which I have a membership. I left salary issues. As a senior manager, that had always been my take. If there is a salary progression to be given, we will be told by the NPA. I didn't engage. I never asked anyone to engage on my behalf either, not in all of my career, because that isn't why I was at the NPA. I am aware of colleagues who would have, but I didn't. And quite a few of us, by the way, I'm not a saint, quite a few of us did not, because the work came first. In terms of the first question, Prof, I honestly cannot recall. I know that we had to sign forms. I just cannot tell you which ones I would have signed at the time. But if it is an issue of contention, I would rather go back and look at it than give an answer that I'm not confident of.
Just one thing that I observed, which was quite an interesting thing I saw. You've got on your reference Mr. K. Behari.
Correct.
What's your relationship? Friends, colleagues?
I had known him for over 35 years. Is it a week ago? He was suspended. I called him. I hadn't spoken to him in months. It's not somebody I engage with every day, but it is someone I've known for a very long time, Minister. I spoke to him.
How to put somebody, when did you change your reference on your CV?
The documents had already come in.
Oh, okay.
So I chose not to change it. Okay. I knew that if any issue arises, I must answer the issue. Okay. Changing it and then resending does look like I have something to hide, and I have nothing to hide.
I'm talking in the context when you say you have not spoken to him.
No, he had been a reference. If you look at my CV, Minister, those two references had been references perhaps for the longest time on the CV, and had been there as well in the previous interview for NDPP. I called him and said to him, look, I had been nominated and I accepted a nomination. I cannot have you as a reference on my CV. I, however, cannot change it now because those documents have gone through. I did inform him that I will inform the panel, as I do, that he cannot be a reference on my CV. However, I must say, Minister, I did ask about the reasons for his suspension, which he did provide, and I did say to him, while I hear you, you have to appreciate, I am not judging you, but I cannot be having you on my CV. So I unfortunately did judge my friend, who hasn't been found guilty of anything. But in this position, the perceptions do matter. And Mr. Behari has understood
that's why I'm
that he,
it, as
that
head
he
of
will be.
IDEC, and with what is coming at the commission with reference to Ekurhuleni, I got concerned to see him as your reference, and that's why I wanted to ask the context of your relationship with him.
It had been such an old reference. I think even if I had to print CVs from prior, him and the other reference had always been there. The suspension happened after the nomination and CV submission, but I did tell him I have to remove him, and we also agreed that given the allegations that are made, given the fact that he is suspended, although we hadn't talked for months, we will not be able to talk at all till his issues are resolved. I did stand in judgment. I might lose much more friends because I am judgmental, but I had to do that because in the seat that I'm sitting in today for this position, the perceptions do matter, and I've had to do that.
Prof, you want to say something?
As the head of IDEC, I'll assume that your first instinct is vigilance and
Correct.
verification.
Correct?
And it does look like in some instances you allow for this profound blind spot.
Not
Because let me escort my logic.
Sure.
When you are to put someone for reference, the common practice is to go back to them and talk to them to say, I have applied for A, and now I've applied for B, I've applied for C. There is no retainer in reference where you say, you will always be there.
Understood.
So it would look like you have not spoken with the person for months, but you were able to utilize their reference as such. You verify if the number is still the same, the address. Are you in agreement? Because at times some people will say, I cannot be referenced for this particular one. That's one. The second one from your previous answer is the one of most of the time you talk about the reforms that ought to be made based on precedents and what you have encountered as the NPA or IDEC. What I've not seen or heard coming out clearly, it's the strategic foresight to say this is the emerging trend of organized crime or corruption which will define the future, because you may resolve things that have happened from the past and have to go back to the drawing board for those things which are coming very fast into the future of crime and so forth. Would you comment on those two? I would have added the third one, but I know that my chair will say don't overload or front load. Yes.
Prof, I take your point, and I'm being as forthright as I can be. I'm saying to you those two references had been there. When I was nominated, I sent the person my CV that nominated me, and I sent it as is. I did make a few amendments in terms of things that I had done since then. I didn't think I needed to call them because I know his number didn't change. I hadn't spoken to him in months, but he's always had that same number. And I am aware he's lived at his address for quite some time, and I was not aware that he had changed. And I think given
So
that...
that one, when was the last time? When you say months, when was the last time?
That I spoke to him. Minister, it could have been February or March, other than now last week, when I did call.
February, March this year.
This year.
Okay.
Yes. And I hadn't been to visit him in more than a year and a half, if not more. And with the other reference as well, there's nothing wrong with the other reference, but I also didn't call that reference because it is someone that I know her number has not changed. And I didn't think about the address. It's the reference and that they are contactable. But with Mr. Bihari, I known him most of my adult life for over 35 years. And when there was cause, Minister, to contact him, then I did. In terms of reforms to be made and the strategic foresight, sorry.
You just mentioned the second reference. I was going to come to it. Also, it's problematic for me. There's no position called acting judge in the Department of Justice.
I appreciate that, and that is my error. She is a magistrate, a regional court magistrate at the moment. That is, I'm saying I didn't change those things at the time, and that it's carelessness on my behalf.
Advocate Johnson, there's never been a position called acting judge. You are either a senior advocate, because acting judges come a week or two sessionals, but it's not a position.
At the time, she was acting as a judge in the High Court for a term.
Yeah, a term is 6 weeks. Yes, because I signed the appointments of acting judges. So
this was
a cycle, it's 6 weeks maximum.
I take
Others,
it.
for example, now, the acting judges will be now in December, when the normal judges are, the judges are on recess, so that they can hear urgent matters. So it can be a position. I'm trying to flag that. Because I'm looking at this, it says, name of referee, Ms. Mngube, company, DOJ, position, acting judge, Pretoria High Court.
That was at the time. That is my error, and that is what I made the point. I sent my CV. I didn't change my references. She is a magistrate, and I apologize. I didn't
So she
change
would have
it.
been a magistrate under DOJ.
Under DOJ, and still is minister.
Okay.
Listen, I just wanted to ride on Professor Fikeni's comment. This one is a comment just to say I'm a bit concerned about your level of vigilance, you know, because one would expect it to be much higher than an ordinary person. You know, not belaboring the issue of the deductions that started in 2000. They're going for 20, I don't know what years now, 26, 25 years. And that is worrying to me because that has got an impact on who you are in the eyes of certain people inside. That's one of the many reasons. But secondly, I also, you know, why I had to bring it back, the issue of referees, you know, I would expect somebody who has got a friend who is maybe a scientist or something to say they were acting as a judge and write that, not you and me.
Correct.
We are lawyers.
Correct.
And it's worrying me that we had to pick it up here. You know how judges act. This person is a magistrate.
Correct.
You have written a senior judge. It's almost, it's bordering, if not full-blown, misleading. Because if some of the panel members or all of us did not know what an acting judge is, it gives it a different turn altogether. One of your referees is an acting judge.
Correct.
As opposed to a magistrate. Those things worry me. They're small, but they worry me. A third one is the Estina matter was also thrown out of court as a result of unreasonable delays. And you have not mentioned it. You know, so that's how I say maybe it's just comments, but unreasonable delays in the courts is fundamental because it goes to the heart of justice and a fair trial and access to the courts and therefore access to justice. You know, so it's worrying me that there's the way you look at things or the way you couch them, it's a different certain level of a truth as you see it, but not necessarily an absolute truth. I think I'm also trying to be strategic.
No,
but you hear me.
No, I hear you.
It's already 3 examples.
Yes.
Wherein, at the end of the day, you have not been entirely truthful. Let me just put it out there.
Absolutely, and I want to be very clear. I have not been dishonest.
Okay.
I honestly overlooked those referees. I honestly did, because at the time when I received the call, I sent my CV. You have no reason not to say I have to be even more vigilant. And in Estina, I didn't hide anything. Part of the unreasonable delays was the disclosure. I talked to what the court found about why that matter was struck off the roll. So please do not see the response as being dishonest. I responded as I do because I took the points that I saw. At no stage is it ever my intent. If that is the impression that was created, I can't fault me for making the deduction that you do. It was never the intention.
Should we then conclude that, maybe the mic there? Should we then conclude that your ability to pay attention to detail is a bit of an issue? Let me tell you why. Let me give her the CV. Your CV is full of flaws. There's inconsistency between your CV and the form that we've sent you.
Sure.
And that is worrying for me. I just looked at it. If we go to your CV, and because you work with me, you know me by now that I do pay attention to details. Look at the position you're saying there, page 4 is fine. It's Investigative Directorate 1 March 2022 to date. You go to the next one. Company section, DPP Pretoria, Senior Deputy Director Public Prosecution, February 2012 to date. You go
I see.
previous employer, company, Department of Justice, Section Magistrate Court. Next one, prosecutor, 1996, 1998.
Yes. At the time, it was the Department of Justice.
But the years are not correlating. Oh yeah, that one is fine.
Yes.
Oh, that one is fine. It's the other one that I picked up. And then you go to 98 to 99.
Yes.
That's what you had corrected on the form. Go to the next one, and then 1999 to 2004. That one is fine. 2004. I'll show you the other one that has a problem. Because I've been corresponding with this one. Check on the one of
On page 8.
on page 8 as well.
Correct.
There's a problem there. The next page as well, let me just show you.
The dates.
Employment
Oh,
period
the-
is a problem as well. The next page as well, 6 February 2019 to date, a problem again.
The to date, yes.
So you see what I'm raising. Again, you go back to page 11, National Coordinator Organized Crime, 2019 to date. This is your CV. Now, your CV is meant for us to be able to use as a determining process as well. So that's why I would correspond between the CV
And the
and
question.
the form. And that's why I'm saying, if you're saying that it was not misleading, then I conclude that you do not pay attention to detail.
In this instance, I didn't. I clearly didn't. Unintentionally, I didn't. I really sent my CV. And if you'll allow me, Minister, there can be no excuses, but I'd like you to hear the following. I don't apply for jobs. It's not something I do. But I take the point that I'm supposed to be more vigilant with the CV. I sent my CV, and I accept that I was wrong. I should have checked it first and then sent it. That is why when I had to do the questionnaire myself, I was vigilant in the questionnaire and was able to properly set out, because that was then the document I was penning myself. But
No,
I can't
I'm
argue from the
raising it,
point.
Advocate, I hear you are taking it, and I think this is just beyond here. Because we published this thing, this CV, before we could get the form. We've never published the form. We took your CV and published it.
I accept that.
The team emailed you to say, please verify this CV because we are going to publish it. Because I asked them to get permission from all of you before we could publish the CVs, so that you are not found wanting. You're not, anything that you are not comfortable about, please take it out. This is what you sent us. And that's what I'm saying. It's my issue. It's the ability to pay attention to detail. It's the membership of the union. You didn't pay attention to detail. It's the CV. It has for a prosecutor, senior prosecutor, and a head of an investigating directorate that has the work that you carry a huge weight
Yes.
in your shoulders, not to be able to pay attention to detail.
I know that, yes, here you are correct. I really am vigilant. When it comes to my work, I really am. Here, I can't take away that I didn't pay attention to my CV. I really didn't. And I don't have excuses to make. There's none to be made. Even on the item that Prof raised. It's been there. If it's to be corrected, I will correct it. It's been going off my salary. There's nothing to hide, panelists. It is as I answered.
Minister, yeah, I was going to say, you know, for a member of the public out there who would say, since 2001, there is a small amount that is being deducted. How do you know that there isn't a 100 rand that is being deposited by some shady person who tomorrow can turn around and say, please, you do know me, check your bank statements?
So in terms of my bank account, The difference is getting those notifications. I get the notifications, and I do check my bank account. This goes off my salary advice. That membership goes off as a stop order. That is what we were expected to put in those many years ago, Mayor. So those go off differently. They don't go off my bank account. They get withdrawn before you get your salary. So I'm saying it is there because it's always been there, but not in my bank account. I am clear about what's in my bank account.
Okay. Let me hand over to Mr. Mutlu to take us through the public comments. You would have seen them, and we would have given you an opportunity to respond, but he will take you through.
Thank you, Minister. Advocate Johnson, as Minister when she introduced the flow of the process, intimated that we have received
Public.
a high number of public comments. And it's on record that we received a whopping 209 comments. And out of the 209 comments received, only one supported your appointment. So essentially, we're sitting with 208 objections. And now, I would like to take you through a whole range of these comments. But obviously, I wouldn't go through each and every comment. So I'll package these comments in terms of their similarities in content. The bulk of the comments which raised objections to your appointment has to do with conflict of interest, ethical concerns, and this stem from your recent participation in the ad hoc committee. But I'll deal with those. But there was also other comments separate from this, and I'll also deal with those comments. And they touch on issues of poor judgment, but also ethical concerns in how you dealt with some of the cases that they've listed. So perhaps it would be prudent that I should take you through the comment that deals with your support of your appointment and just take it out of the way. And this is a comment that was received. It's under 190. You should have received it. Column 190. And this comment comes from Robert Mailula, who says, Advocate Johnson leads the investigative directorate and has long-standing experience in organized crime and corruption cases. Her Scorpion-era background shows a strong commitment in accountability and results. Her strengths are skilled in handling high-level corruption, strong operational knowledge of the NPA, and respected within prosecutorial cycles. So this is the support that you receive. But then, if I can take you to a comment on column 10. You should have received it as well. and you had the opportunity to respond to it. This comment says, Advocate Andrea Johnson has been compromised and cannot be trusted with such a high-profile office in our justice system. I recommend that she's removed from the shortlist. And there's a comment from on column number 19, which just sums up as well how the public felt about your candidature. I register my objection to the consideration and possible shortlisting of Advocate Andrea Johnson for the position of National Director of Public Prosecution, South Africa. Or South Africa not risk appointing an NDPP whose ethical record, actions and conduct have already been publicly questioned and criticized, including by the Madlanga Commission, which highlighted serious concerns about governance failures, conflict of interest, and compromised decision-making within NPA's leadership structures. Some of these revelations involves or implicate the leadership environment in which Advocate Johnson operated. So this is part of the comments that I needed to highlight to you. So this has to do with, among others, your admission to have been involved in the selection and recruitment process involving your husband, which you admitted at the recent ad hoc committee sessions. Now, there is also a comment which you are aware of, and this comment is from Mr. Matsela Koko, who raised an objection. And for the sake of transparency, I'll read the contents of.
Also, do you indicate that he didn't indicate that he's got a case that is in IDEC as he did the objection?
Indeed, he didn't mention that. And the objection also is unrelated in as far as this case, that the pending case is concerned. Dear members of the NDPP selection panel, I'm writing to formally submit my objection for the consideration of Advocate Andrea Johnson for the position of National Director of Public Prosecutions, NDPP. As a former ESCOM Group Executive, directly impacted by the matters outlined in my submissions, I believe her actions in relation to the 2022 Alternative Dispute Resolution and Cooperation Agreement with ABB South Africa Pty Ltd render her unfit for this critical role under Section 9(1) of the National Prosecuting Authority Act 32 of 1998. Please find attached my detailed submission titled The Constitutional Disqualification of Advocate Andrea Johnson for the position of National Director of Public Prosecution, which sets out the constitutional, policy, and evidentiary grounds for the objection. For your reference, the submission includes the following supporting attachments: Well and Sontag article, dated 16 November 2025. 2, the Nkabinde Commission transcript excerpts from Advocate Shamila Batohi, testimony, 27 November 2025. High Court of Canton of Zurich judgment, which is translated. This judgment was given out on the 20th of November 2024. DCP Directive, ADRCA, Constitutional Review, Gauteng Division, Pretoria, set down for April 2026. I'm available to provide further information or clarification if required. By contact details are provided below. And as you would be aware, the attachment that is referred to has to do with an agreement between this company that is referred to, the ABB South Africa, and this was an agreement for payment of an amount of 2.5 billion in exchange of indemnity to prosecute on crimes related to breaker and poker, among others. There is also an objection that was posted on Facebook, where the author indicated that you should be stopped from being appointed as a director of National Director of Public Prosecutions.
Clarify, Facebook linked to DOJ as a submission.
Indeed, Minister. This you would also locate under an attachment PCJ3 that you would have received. South Africa cannot risk an ethically compromised NDPP. There was also an attachment referred to as PCJ1, which
PCJ1.
Yes.
Can I request that we do not process that here?
Yes. Oh,
I've
okay.
been alerted, that's what will be on my desk. It relates
Yes.
to decision of prosecution and perhaps having to inquire of her fitness to hold office. Advocate, I just became aware, it's the one that relates to a decision on the Mapisa Ngakula case, and that the team jeopardized Nombasando Zondwa Ndlovu's own prosecution. So the issue is on how the prosecution process has been handled in a court. I hope I'm clear on that one. My voice seems to be going, I don't know what's happening with it. So that's PCJ, that's what I'm picking up. It's more on cases that are running.
That are live in court, yes.
Yeah, that are live in court. So I'm going to request that we do not deal with those.
Thank you, Minister. So, Advocate Johnson, these are the objections received from the public, which obviously you were afforded the opportunity to respond to such. So these objections were made, you were made aware of the contents of the objections, and you were given the opportunity to respond. Now, for the sake of brevity and transparency, it would then be prudent of us in this process to allow the opportunity to place on record your response to these objections, and so I can afford you that opportunity to do so.
Maybe before you omitted the Daily Maverick one, because I do think as much as the support, there's issues that they're raising. Should I do it?
Thank you, Minister. That's the first one, actually.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I
that's the
didn't
first
hear
one.
you
You can do
flick.
it. Yes.
Can I do it? Yeah.
Yes.
Daily Maverick makes a comment here. Johnson has a reputation as an excellent prosecutor. She has set up the investigating directorate against corruption. She's the best chance SA has of fighting organized crime and corruption. She's the most experienced prosecutor in the field. Her appearance before Parliament's ad hoc inquiry into Mkhwana's allegation did not go well, and this could be a markdown for her. Johnson has temperament for the role and is fearless, but her management smarts are not great and she would need support, says insiders who support her. So I would want you to also reflect. So there is an issue around your management skills from your peers as they reflect.
If I could start, would you allow me to start anywhere, or must I start at the start?
Anyway,
So just to be clear, Minister and members of the panel, the objection raised by Mr. Koko, I'm not prepared to discuss. It is currently litigated. All of the documents that he has attached as part of his objection, Minister and members, is part of court papers. It is part of a
Sufficient,
motion
I
application.
think I can rule that we leave it there.
Yes,
I
and-
might have missed it like the other ones that
No,
I've picked
and
up.
it is understood. The state is opposing it. Just for the record, we have filed all of our papers. All of the necessary parties have filed that Motlong. So I cannot discuss that matter. if
you
that
can
is
move on to the next
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you.
If I could deal with, in the Daily Maverick, we talk of the Mkhwanazi allegations and what happened at ad hoc. Minister, I made it clear when I was at ad hoc, I didn't understand the 6th July media briefing. It had taken me by surprise, as I testified, simply because General Mkhwanazi and myself in particular had worked well over the years and had not had any disagreements either about what each was doing or what we did collectively. I had to respect the process. I said at the ad hoc committee that once I'm done testifying, I will in fact call the general because I need to understand we are both still in our spheres of work. The work doesn't stop while ad hoc and Madlanga carry on. I in fact did call General Mkhwanazi, perhaps 2 weeks after my testimony at the ad hoc was done. The gist of the conversation that the Motlong was, General, I told the committee I will call you. I'm calling you to understand where did we go wrong. I didn't understand that we had a challenge. And if there's something I was not aware of, please tell me. And I want to set the record straight. It is telephonic, but we should have a meeting. Said, I want to be very clear, as I was at ad hoc. The only matter, you talk of a big five. I don't know your big five. I also do not know the organized crime the so-called big five are involved in. The only matter we have where there
Dr.
is...
Johnson, I'm going to ask you deal with what we're dealing with. I don't want to get into the Madlanga and ad hoc committee space.
it was just
I
the
think what we
Mkhwanazi
have-
allegation as per the
no,
Maverick.
no, let me help you. What the objection or the comment is about is that the objections are mainly about your role in relation to the appointment of your husband.
And I will deal with
Yeah,
that.
and the performance, don't go into detail about
Okay.
those investigations because we don't want to overreach
Yes.
our responsibilities. And lastly, because they just made a reference to the committee, how you performed. That committee, I think the comment from Daily Maverick says it was your law. I think they put it in that way, your law. So deal with that. Don't go into the detail of what your statement in Parliament would have been and all that, because I don't want to have a situation whereby we start wanting to correspond what you had said and all that.
Understood.
Yeah, deal with the interview, not the investigation into the allegations said by General Mkhwanazi.
So without the detail, just for the committee to know that work continues and that in terms of a conflict with regards what was raised in the Daily Maverick about the ID and or investigations being compromised, those have been dealt with. But the comment that is made there, Minister, about my performance at ad hoc, I answered to the best of my ability. It will not find favor with everyone. I could only be honest in my submissions, and I accept that. I will take the criticism that comes. And for me, I could only answer as I was asked. There's nothing different that I would say today if I was asked the same questions. When it comes to the main complaint, Ndate Motlong, as I saw it, the majority of it, when it relates to the conflict of interest, ethical leadership, I'll ask the panel and Minister to bear with me. I said, and I have to repeat, and I repeat only because I had nothing to hide. When the question was posed to me, I didn't flounder and fluster. I heard the question, and I was able to respond and say as I did, because I have no different answer. In 2007, I formed part of a panel. I cannot remember the rest of the panelists. What I did do in 2007, I did disclose that I was married and to whom I was married. And I did physically recuse myself from the shortlisting, where he was shortlisted, the actual interview, and the actual adjudication. And that was in 2007. 17 or so more years later, when it is raised, that is the only truth I have. But what it means is that I had to reflect, which is what we have to do, about the perceptions out there about whether or not my disclosing and my recusing myself from the process when he was in the interview is sufficient. And all I'm saying is, I accept that maybe what I should have done back was recuse myself completely. It was a misjudgment. I had no intention to misrepresent anything, because I did not misrepresent. I did disclose. I did recuse. It goes back to the question you raise of the standard and duty of care, and I'm saying, in hindsight, Ndate Motlong, I accept. I could have done better, and I could have done differently. As a national director, given that at that time, those were the two things I knew I had to do, which was disclose and recuse. I am saying we should have more clarity in terms of a code where we must have express, written declarations of ethical conflict of interest. We must all be held to that, and that must be adjudicated by an independent panel, which can also consist of outsiders. So I am saying I accept. How it looks is not good. I cannot change what I did. I have to accept that. I accepted it at the ad hoc. I accept it here. In hindsight, I should have completely removed myself, and not just when he went for the interview, the shortlist, and the adjudication. If you'll allow me, I just want to check. I think
Check on
everything.
that one. Was DSO under Public Service and Administration? Was
We
it
were-
the recruitment? Were you under?
We were in the NPA, and it was NPA Act appointments.
Okay, those ones.
Those
your
ones,
husband's
yes.
was under NPA Act,
Yes.
not under Public Service,
No.
because it's dual.
No.
Okay.
I think all of the rest, Ndate Motlong, flow from there. Questions about ethical leadership, etc. I have always prided myself, and I think it also talks to what was said in the Daily Maverick article and in the positive article you read. That is how I have conducted myself. This was an error of judgment. I'm not going to change it. I can't take it away. This panel will have to judge me on my entire performance, my history in the NPA, where I have faltered. And if this panel feels that in terms of that happened in 2007, where I did what I knew I was supposed to do, but when we fast forward, in hindsight, you should do differently, I can't take it further. I really can't take it further. And if I am to be penalized on a misjudgment made then, it is the penalty I have to live with. And all that you do is you say, because of that misjudgment, you will never be allowed, as you have in the rest of your unblemished career, to be able to move ahead. And I accept that. I came here knowing that those were the questions. I came here knowing that South Africa expects me to be different. I have always carried myself in a very particular way. And you can talk to stakeholders and colleagues, etc., across the board. I have a way that I have conducted myself. If I am to be penalized on this, I am where I am. And don't smile. No, I am where I am. Sorry, Minister. It is where it is. He was trying not to smile.
Okay. What level was he? As which area? What was he appointed for? What was the position?
At the time, it was for a special investigator or a senior special investigator. I honestly cannot recall all of the details, and everything I give you is what I have from memory. The chair, unfortunately, has passed, or else that would have assisted me, because I can't remember anyone else, Minister, that was on the panel who'd be able to say what documentation I filled in as part of my disclosure, and to corroborate that, in fact, I was not in that adjudication process, I wasn't in the shortlisting, and that I had physically recused myself and wasn't even in the vicinity when he did the interview. You only have my word.
Did he declare?
Yes, he did.
He did. Because remember, as the investigators, there's a vetting process.
Yes, he did declare.
So the vetting didn't pick up that you were sitting in the panel in the process and you had to step out. Because you sat in the process, so vetting should have been done before his appointment.
Minister,
because the Act requires vetting process.
Sorry. Yes,
That's what I was asking. Okay. At which Act was he appointed, knowing that NPA has two elements of it. It's got the Public Service Administration, which all the appointments that are in that side are governed by Public Service Act. And then it's got the prosecutors and investigators that are governed by, the appointments are governed by NPA Act. And the specific processes that must be done. So that's why I'm checking, and it could be not a fault of the two of you, but the person who was responsible for the recruitment or overall in terms of a final approval, because the vetting is required by law. So at that point, no one raised anything.
Not at all. And
neither to you, neither to him.
Not at all. And just to be clear, Minister, from that date, this was the first time anything was raised at the ad hoc.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify. I cannot tell you why it wasn't, and that is why I'm saying that the travesty of this situation is the chair has passed, and the chair would have been the person who signed off and would at least have been able to indicate what documentation we filled in with regards the disclosures of the relationship and or otherwise.
Okay. Colleagues wanted to do a follow-up. I just wanted to clear that one. I was checking. You were still on the floor. Okay, you are doing your questionnaire, but I think everybody wants to do a follow-up on this one. Prof, and then you will come.
Just two things. In such an illustrious career, and this blemish must have been very traumatic to you.
Yes.
And it surely must have helped you to try and retrace your steps back to that moment. I'm struggling with you saying you can't remember the details, because in a career that is unblemished, when something happens, you normally want to go back and reconstruct that moment. And also your husband is there to say, can you remind me on some of these and so forth. That you can't recall, it's a bit of a challenge for me. The second one, with the help of hindsight maybe, let's assume you are the successful candidate for the NPA. Would you allow, even if there were no specific laws. Anyone to sit, help even in the crafting of the specification, shortlisting, adverts of a person who is a close relative of theirs, mother to child or a spouse, a cousin and so forth. How would you approach that? It's an ethical issue. Sometimes it doesn't have to be regulated by law. It's a matter of what you think is right, what you think is wrong in terms of judgment.
Just to add, Advocate Johnson, on this, I also am finding it difficult to understand how you are not able to remember the panel, and the only other panel member is the chair that you remember, and unfortunately the chair has died. That is worrying, you know. And why it's worrying, it's not that one can prove right or wrong. It's exactly what we were talking about earlier, where as a result of some of the gray areas that were allowed, that you have overlooked, where your judgment seems to have been found wanting, it almost like falls inside that pot. I guess it's a comment, but I just want you to take it with you and reflect. It does bring about doubt, you know, yeah. And then on the issue again, in your response, you said, to be clear, there were many processes that I would have had to follow thereafter before the appointment. At no stage was I questioned or informed that there was anything in which clarity was sought. This response to me also adds to the, it's almost like still not seeing anything wrong. I know you have said I should have approached it differently. I could have. Your words are, I could have, not should have, which in itself is worrying. Could have is a choice. Should have is I had no choice. I had no business doing that. You know, I shouldn't have done it. And this is what is still worrying me, that the hindsight is still, but no, man, it's not that bad after all. Kind of, it gives that feeling, that sense, because of choice of words. But even here, when you say many processes, just on the many processes, if you could tell us what those processes were that followed afterwards, and wherein no one asked, who should have asked and did not ask. Thanks.
So if I take your comment, Mayor, and the question together with Prof's, I cannot recall who everybody was on the panel. It was 2007, and I don't have the documentation. And what I said was, it was the first time from 2007, now in November 2025, when the issue was raised. I go only on the memory that I have and my discussions with my husband, because he does recall that I wasn't there. He does recall he disclosed. And I said to him, yes, I also disclosed. The point is, it wasn't even a secret, but we both disclosed. It was known that we were married at the time. I don't want Mayor I understand the could have and should have. Please do not make a mistake. I am not by any means minimizing what happened then. What I'm saying is, in hindsight, it should never have happened. I should have removed myself. Sorry if I used the word could have. I'm saying that's what I meant. I should never have done that to myself. Because look at where we are sitting 17 years later. That's what I'm saying to you. I should not have been in that situation. That is what I'm saying. And it is unfortunate. I don't have anything to refresh my memory. I really don't. And there's a reason why I remember the chair. It is because the person passed away not so long ago. And when this issue came up, I remembered, wait, because I know where that position was that he had applied for, that was the chair. He was the chair in most of the positions because it was a specific unit, and that's how I remembered the chair. I know there would have had to be another panelist, and on that I go on how we operated in terms of panelists, and there would have had to have been an HR representative. And when I talk, Mayor, of those processes, I talk from my general understanding and recollection at the time. You have the interviews, the chair would have signed off, and it would have gone into HR and those processes. And then it would have gone above that for the appointment to be signed. And that is what I mean, is I don't know who in terms of actual individuals it went to. I talk of the process it would have followed as other processes in the DSO followed where I had been a member of a panel. That is what I'm talking about. So that is how I recall it, not that actual process. And then,
Minister, can I just ask for clarity?
I have one more question.
Okay.
We can do this, Minister. If it is follow-up to that question, let me deal with it, and then I'll deal with the second question that Prof raised.
So, sorry, Minister, about that.
No, I didn't want to disturb a train of thoughts as well.
Oh, okay.
Because on that, I thought you were coming with another one.
Oh, no. Let me just go straight to the point. Yet you had been sitting with this panel the whole time and recused yourself when Mr. Johnson came in. Is this what you're saying? You'd been sitting with them, interviewing other people, then candidate number 6, Mr. Johnson, guys, this is my husband. You walk away.
No,
Was
not
that
at all.
it? Okay, all right.
Not at all.
Okay.
The panel said to me, we'll deal with the candidates. We dealt with the candidates. The panel said to me that they are now going to call Mr. Johnson. I had left the room. He came in, would have gone for his interview, and they then messaged me to come back. When I came back, he was gone.
The question is, because it's the advert, this is the post.
Yes.
So were you interviewing other candidates who were part of the interview panel of the other candidates who competed for the same position as Mr. Johnson?
Correct.
That's what she's asking.
Oh, sorry, Mayor,
so
that is
you
correct.
actually sat through the process, but recused yourself when Mr. Johnson was to come in as part of the interview. During his interview, you were outside. You were not part of the process.
No.
You didn't interview him. But at the time he was finished, you came back to be part of the process, almost concluding the interviews, let's say, and also the deliberation that eventually made a recommendation.
So when
Can I write on that one, Chair?
maybe if I answer, then Prof will see if you want to write on it. Okay.
I just want to check, were you part of the process of conceptualizing the position,
Not at all.
specifications,
No.
adverts,
No.
and then sitting in the other interviews?
On all of the first mentioned, no. I was not part of conceptualizing, not part of the advert process, not part of the other aspect you raised. But I did interview other candidates who were shortlisted for that post.
And this was the position under your unit, right?
Not my unit. It was in the DSO in a different unit.
Okay, thank you.
To the question, Minister, when I had come back, so how it worked is, I can take it from what happened with the other candidates when I was in the room. As each candidate finished, we scored the candidate. The deliberations would take place once all the scoring was done. When I came back in, he had been scored by the panel that interviewed him minus me. When they did the deliberations, we deliberated on the candidates. I was part of the process. I knew his score, but I was not part of the discussion. At that time, I was now gone. That was the end of the process. So when he was recommended, I did come to know that he was recommended, because what happens, Chair, is what happens, Minister, is the Chair must send the recommendations for every panelist to sign. That we all had to sign. And that is where I saw that he was recommended by their deliberations. But I was part of deliberations of other candidates. I was part of scoring of other candidates.
And you signed the form.
I would have signed the form. What I'm saying is, I look at
So
other
everybody
processes.
else was scored by all the panels?
Yes.
Including yourself?
Yes.
And then let's say it's 6 panel members. And then at the time, how many were they?
You see, Minister, I don't know if there were,
Okay,
we
you
were
don't
4.
remember. I'm just going to assume. Let's say it's 4
correctly,
people.
I don't know if I was replaced. I wanted to get there. I don't know if I was replaced, who I was replaced by. I left.
But Advocate Johnson, let's take it you are a manager now.
Yes.
And when an appointment is to be done, for example, at those levels, like you were explaining, that we had to introduce, for example, an external observer so that there's transparency and all that. But when you have a panel, you can't say in the middle of a panel, then you change the panel. For example, these members know that we must stick with it until the end. None of us can leave. Otherwise, they make the process irregular. Or none of them can have a replacement because it skews the interviewing process. Because how do you determine that this person is suitable if you didn't sit in that person's interview to ask questions? We can make a reflection if we were not in the room. That's why we can't stand up, even go to the bathroom. We must sit here until we finish with you. Whether it's a question asked by this colleague or this one, we must be here to hear the responses so that when we deliberate, we have that. So I'm trying to understand. You said it's 2007.
Yes.
It's not very long.
And unfortunately, I really cannot remember. I'm not trying to be obtuse about it.
I know I inherited the good, the bad, and the ugly as a minister. So we didn't have systems that could detect an irregularity in the process. Because that, as you are saying to me, where I'm sitting as a minister, that process was irregular.
And I accept that. And I'm saying to you, Minister, I have not been asked about this process till now in the ad hoc.
No, I'm not even worried about you now. I'm just worried about
the process
I
then.
believe in systems.
Yes.
So
and that's what I'm saying. I did at the time what I knew we were doing was to disclose and to have recused myself. And that's all I knew that I had to do. And that is where I am.
Okay. No, understand me. I have a part. I know members are looking at a part. Because I'm a minister, I'm looking beyond just what you are saying to understand what could I be dealing with.
Yes,
beyond just you as a candidate.
But in the NPA...
Because, you know, I'm stringent on issues of governance and processes.
Yes. So in the NPA, and I know also when we were doing interviews, especially for the advocates at the DSO, when we did them in Gauteng, we actually had a questionnaire, and we asked the same question of all candidates so that no one is prejudiced in the interview, and we did keep the same panel. In the NPA, in my years after...
No, Advocate, maybe let's tell you, those of us who specialize in corporate governance, it's not about the question, it's the entire process.
Yes.
End to end. Every step of it is critical.
Yes.
Because at the point where a person is being shortlisted, remember, there will be a panel. That panel must decide on the shortlisting. A panel that shortlists can be the different panel from the one that interviews.
Correct.
You are aware of
yes.
that.
And that is the processes that we do run. So in terms of the processes in the NPA that I am a part of, even in IDAC, we first, our HR sits with us and they put together the specs for the advert.
Yes.
The advert goes through. Once that is advertised and the closing dates, all of the applications are submitted where they are submitted. They have that pre-shortlisting to see that the forms are correct, et cetera, and where there aren't, those fall away. Then those that qualify in terms of the administrative minimum requirements are then brought through. But before we even get that, simultaneously, we have to apply for a panel approval. Depending on the level of the person, the panel could be approved in the NPA, but it's only on lower levels. The majority of our panels, especially in IDAC, for example, have come to the Office of Minister for approval. When the panel is approved, the shortlisted CVs after the pre are then brought through. First, a date is set for the shortlisting. Panel must sit together. We do deliberate, and then we indicate how many positions, what is best for so many positions. So if you have 4, it might be best to have 12 people as an example. We sit together. Once we are done with the shortlisting, we then inform HR, this is the final shortlist. We put it on a form, and there's a form all of us sign.
Yes.
Those candidates are then informed, because we then, as a panel, agree to a date. That date is communicated to the potential persons that must be interviewed.
Good.
In that time, the panelists sit together, work out, but we do that so there's no compromise. On that morning, we all have to get in an hour earlier. We all sign declarations of conflict of interest, those forms, and we then work out the questions. The questions are then typed so that every candidate is asked accordingly. If there's a practical, the practical question is also done, and then the candidates come in one by one. And when they do their practical, Minister, there is always someone that is sitting with them from IDAC HR to make sure that none of the candidates talk to one another. And then when we are done, we all do sit and deliberate. The scoring is done. Sometimes we find candidates, sometimes we don't, but there is a stipulated process that we have to follow and that we do follow.
Now, explaining what you know now and the processes that you are following versus what you got involved in, what's your view?
I should not have gotten involved in it at all.
Okay.
And if there was any irregularity, I really would have appreciated at the time someone to have just raised it. And that process, Minister, if it was raised that this is irregular, I can bet you, me being me, we would have asked that it be set aside. That opportunity was not there, and I do regret. I really do regret, because here I am sitting and talking to all of you about a 2007 issue when, with everything else,
But
I'm
in
going to
law,
go.
what does that mean? There is no old case. There's no. It
Minister,
doesn't get rotten.
I leave it to you and to the panel to adjudicate, but bear in mind,
No, it's
Minister.
not for the panel.
I'm saying that bear in mind, Minister, a complaint has been raised with your office. I have to leave it to you and your discretion.
Okay. No, I just wanted so that the panel is clear.
Yes.
And I'm glad you explained from the point of, because I was worried, you leading quite a number of interview processes.
No,
I didn't want to have a sense that you are not following the process
No,
and you are not doing
we
the
are,
correct,
and especially
and
the
will have.
conflict,
So
conflict
I'm
issues
glad-
we
I'm
deal
glad
with.
that,
Yes.
Yeah, you are dealing with that.
Thank you, Minister. There is one comment that received from public interest, but before then, just a rider on this issue. I think to classify or categorize this misnomer as irregular is actually downgrading it. It's actually grossly irregular. And for you to suggest that had someone brought it to your attention, you would have recused yourself, you wouldn't have acted the way you did. I don't think...
Just to be, are you sure that it's a complaint that has been brought before me? I've not received it.
No, what I'm saying, yes, I only received feedback of it yesterday.
That I am
where
receiving
it said
I
that
shouldn't
it will
have
be.
been involved in this discussion then on it. I'm not aware that
And
it's
I
for
accept
me
you
to
may not be
consider.
aware, Minister. I was also only informed. I saw
know
it
the
in
other,
the
that's why
midday
I
yesterday.
stopped it. Okay, I'll have to be circumvent on it.
Okay, thank you. Actually, the conduct is inexcusable. And what was expected of you was actually very basic and elementary.
Can I interject you and ask purely from this possibility that the minister just spoke about, just high level, that we leave it at that explanation and we leave it as the candidate has explained it? I'm sure that we can sit here and tear into it for longer, but because it has a potential then to end up at the minister's table, if it at all perhaps there is such a possibility. I don't think that taking it further than up to where we are may actually not compromise it. one way or another when it has to go to somebody who has to adjudicate it. So,
No, accepted, Minister.
Yeah.
But regrettably, we cannot unhear what you have heard. But I just wanted to bring to your attention.
That's why I had to make it on record that I was not aware. I've got my iPad, so I've been looking. I've not received it from it. Possibly it's coming with a fiscal memo that is coming through.
Thank you.
So it was something that we're dealing with. We could have managed it differently, but I think let's take it in that way. By the way, the OEA is under you. No, it's okay.
Advocate van Rensburg in the office of the NDPP, yes.
Okay. I'll take you through the objection from Public Interest SA. This complaint was authored by the chairperson of that institution, Tebogo Gas. I hope I'm not butchering the surname.
I think it's Tebogo Class.
Class.
Yes.
Okay. The Gas.
Is it Gas?
It's Gas. It's
I think
KH.
in a document I saw.
Yes.
Class, yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
And I'll go straight into the key issues that concerns that he raised as an objection for your appointment. Her failure to recuse herself in matters affecting her husband constituting a clear conflict of interest, the existence of serious allegations linking her spouse to factional battles within SAPS, creating severe perception risks, her misuse of prosecutorial authority in pursuing a matter that was plainly a sub-HR/disciplinary issue, the premature and poorly prepared enrollment of the Matela Koko state capture prosecution, which collapsed at great financial and reputational cost, and broader performance deficits during her leadership of the investigating directorate. The NDPP plays a pivotal role in safeguarding public trust, prosecutorial independence, and constitutional integrity. In our considered view, the cumulative concerns outlined in the attached submission materially compromise Advocate Johnson's suitability for this critical appointment. We thank the panel for its important work and trust our submissions will assist in ensuring that South Africa is served by an NDPP of the highest integrity and competence.
I dealt with the issue of the conflict. I can't take it further than what I dealt with. With the Coco matter, I also dealt with that at length. With the alleged HR matter, which involves the head of crime intelligence and others, I'd like us to be mindful the matter is sub judice. It is a criminal matter currently in court. Safe to say that the charge sheet is a public document. It is not an HR matter, and it was not about him sitting on a panel. It is about allegations that happened before the interview, during and after, that compromised the entire process. It wasn't just in a specific part. Lots of things happened before, during, and after, but that's not the only charge. There are fraud charges as well. So even if one says the corruption matter fell away, there's still other charges that they must answer to. And I want to be clear, Minister and panel members, IDEC did not look for a case. I did say at the ad hoc committee, there was a Section 27 referral that was made. We had to look at where this matter fell. And this matter fell not because it was one matter. There are 6 matters that form a collective of activities of these matters that fell within the definition of our state capture matters. Hence, we took the matter. With regards to what whatever challenges my husband has at work, I'm not in his place of work. He must deal with his place of work. They must deal with him. In the same way that if I have challenges with colleagues in my workplace, the national director, as my immediate supervisor, must deal with me. It can never be expected of me to enter that fray. I have never, and I won't. And I would expect that my space of work be respected in the same manner. It's not for me to have entered it. And I have not dealt with any matters because my husband works at Crime Intelligence. He's been there since 2009. These matters came to us in November 2024 through a complainant, and that we didn't make secret, and that there are 6 different matters that we have dealt with. And the head of Crime Intelligence, as he is now, has been there since, I think, 2021 or 2022, Minister. Just to be clear, if what we do is look for vendettas, cases would have been dealt with a long time ago. Cases could have been made up. That's not the job. We got a referral. In fact, if you'll allow me, Minister, I actually commented the other day, I said, if we didn't get this referral, we wouldn't have had any matters in that space, because that is the truth. These are the matters we were dealt, and that is why we're dealing with it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Johnson. You'll be happy to know that we've come to the end of the interaction.
So you take the smiley one away? Because he also infected the prof, because at a stage the prof was smiling.
So the smile just went through.
And even when May was telling me about my could and should, she still smiled. No,
at least the panel is friendly. No, thank you very much, Advocate Johnson, for coming through and for availing yourself to be put through the process. It's a process that we know it's quite interrogating. I hope we didn't come across as interrogating, but having a conversation with you. So thank you very much that you made yourself available, and the process ends here. I wouldn't explain to you, you know the process, you are internal as well,
Yes.
how it's going to run from here.
I am aware.
And thank you very much.
And may I take the opportunity to thank you and the panelists. I wouldn't have expected any better, smiles or not. This is a rigorous process, and what the NPA needs is exactly as it was explained. Nothing is personal. So I'm glad you gave me the opportunity. I have to let you deliberate as you see fit, and I thank you.